Okay, I didn't prepare any of this, so let's see how that goes. I mentioned that the tool, the explicit intentions for implicit extensions, is about P, and P is a predicate, like any adjective we can assign, as in something is green or does know, and anything like is this black or is it a grammatically correct sentence, so anything which can return a value of true or false. So that's a set of true and false of two values, and in that predicate we put in an entity. So P can be like, for example, is capital, and if I put in Amsterdam, then it's true, or is it false, because Den Haag is the political capital of the Netherlands. But you get the point. Paris equals true and Munich equals false because it's not a capital. And how do we know that it evaluates to true or false? So this is basically what we want to investigate. So what we do is we try to figure out this one here. We want to make this one explicit, which is a list of criteria which defines the essence of a thing. We do so by using a lot of examples, and that's what we call extensions, like expressions, manifestations, instances. That's Vienna, that's Rome, that's, I don't know, Stockholm, that's Utrecht, and that's Berlin. And for some we know, yes it's true, yes it's true, yes it's true, and the other one also true, and this is true, and that's it, the other one are not true. And this is kind of the gut feeling. And even though people are not consciously aware, we always use a list of criteria to determine, or some kind of other unconscious process to determine whether it's actually, I should maybe draw it like this. That's kind of a yin yang symbol. So this one here is correct and this one here isn't, based on this list, which first needs to be created. So in the beginning, actually, this is a blank page, and that's how we know whether a statement is true or false. So I would, for example, then come up with banana. Banana is a capital. It's not even true or false because it doesn't make sense, because the domain is a wrong one. So what can we know by that? So that the entity we put in must be of a certain domain, of a certain set, and the domain D is like anything which is a city, element of city. So whenever it's not a city, I can't say it's a capital. And then I have my first criteria, which is element of city. Banana is not element of city. And now comes the interesting thing. Based on the rules I have kind of figured out until now, which is the only rule here, and now we check in with my gut feeling, which is the implicit part, which I want to make explicit through this rule set. So banana is not a city, so based on the rules it says false, and now I ask my gut feeling, if I say banana is a capital, no. Okay, so they are aligned. And then I say Munich is a capital. Based on this rule set it says true, but my gut feeling says no. And with is capital, it's of course obvious, but we can then apply that like what we did with, or I started to do with flexibility. So what are the essential criteria for flexibility? So we try to first we have an instance, we check whether it's true or false. Okay, flexibility means to be able to adapt. This is my intuitive feeling, then it's true. And then I just try to find new instances to verify my list, and sometimes I need to remove items and sometimes I need to add items if my definition or the set of criteria is not sufficient. So when it comes to knowledge, classical analysis of knowledge, according to Aristotle, is a justified true belief. So what they say is, to know equals, it must be justified, it must be true, and you need to believe in it. Of course, all of these elements. What is justification, epistemological justification, what is truth? There are different models of how to define truth. There are also different ways of conveying meaning of a word besides definition. We are only used of definitions, but there are like 10, 15 big different alternatives of how to convey the meaning of a word besides providing definitions. And you need to believe it, because if I say my name is Thomas, I might be justified to say so because I have a passport which, it's written. It's true because it correlates with reality, but I don't believe it because I believe that I'm Christoph, so I cannot be assigned the predicate Christoph knows his name is Matthias or whatever if I don't believe in it myself. Like 20 years ago, some guy came up with a new instance, with a scenario where he could show these 3 criteria, 1, 2, 3, are not sufficient because we would intuitively not assign knowledge to this scenario he came up with. Therefore, but the scenario was: I walk along a road, there is a field of grass, I'm there with my child, there is an animal. My child asks, what's this animal? It looks like a sheep, so it must be a sheep. So I said, on this field there is a sheep, but unfortunately it's not a sheep, but it's a wolf with a sheep fur. But what I don't know is that out of my sight there is indeed a sheep. So when I say there's a sheep on the field, do I know that there's a sheep on the field? No, because by coincidence, random accident, there is actually indeed a sheep without me knowing it. So my knowledge about there's a sheep on the field, it's justified, I see it, it's true because it correlates to reality and I believe it. So all these 3 criteria are fulfilled. Still our intuition says, no, this instant he came up with is not knowledge. So there is a criteria missing. After 2000 years of the classical analysis of knowledge, we call it KAW, Klassische Analyse von Wissen in German. After 2000 years we figured it's incomplete. There is at least a fourth criteria to be able to assign the property of knowledge to a statement or to a certain circumstance. So to wrap up, we have a predicate, something we can say, is it true or false? If we assign an adjective or anything to anything, basically you can do that with everything you want. Our gut feeling tells us whether an instance is evaluates to true or false, or is within the set of items which we would say is true, and whether it's outside of that realm of truthfulness, correctness. And this is intuitive, this is implicit, this is kind of gut feeling, and we share that, and it's still based on a list of criteria which we want to make explicit, and we do that by going through this loop and trying to find a lot of instances to infer this list of criteria. I so much got used to do that. Most of my knowledge, and especially when I tried to figure out the essence of things, I used this approach. It just became so much second nature for me. That's like one of the 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 basic mind tools I think everyone should know and use in order to think more sophisticatedly. Is that even an adverb? Sophisticatedly? More sophisticated. Thank you.